Hey, it's Ike once again. Your friendly, lovable, large-sized teddy bear. Let's be honest, double XL size teddy bear coming at you, ready to share some knowledge nugs, hopefully. And this episode's a good one. We've got a special guest coming to us from the West Coast, the Los Angeles area, and he's got some great things to share with all y'all on brand strategy. So buckle on up. We're about to get this rolling. It's been crazy. We've had an awesome couple of weeks here at the podcast at the Create or Die HQ, and things are happening. Picked up my truck all wrapped. What's it been? A little over a week ago. The Skull truck is in full force, driving on out there. Getting waves. I love it. People are asking about the podcast. The movement is growing. It's building. So appreciate the support there. Now, in addition to that, on a personal note, I did it. I sealed the deal on a boat for the family. If you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you know that that's been a goal of mine for the past year. And, we just wheeled that into existence right there. So, gonna be excited to take the family out this Monday for its maiden voyage. So, enough about me. My guest today is Rod Hunt. He is a multidisciplinary creative with a passion for bringing great ideas to life. With over 15 years of professional experience, he has honed his skills as a brand marketer, creative services consultant, graphic designer, and small business owner. He's known to deliver thoughtful and well-executed brand experiences through his deep understanding and involvement in design, fashion, and tech. Rod has a passion for storytelling and excels at content development, brand strategies, brand partnerships, and relationship management for his clients. He's collaborated on award-winning campaigns for renowned brands like Nike, Red Bull, Beats by Dre, Levi's, and Urban Outfitters. He has also held creative lead positions at notable brands such as Game 7 Marketing, Undefeated, Stephen Allen, and Levi's. Alongside his professional endeavors, Rod is also the owner of Uniform Journal, a venture that celebrates individual style as a form of artistic expression. Through Uniform Journal, he documents his personal style and explores the inspiration behind his unique uniform. Rod believes that although we all have access to the same attire, it's the way we arrange and style it that sets us apart. Rod's diverse background and unique combination of his skills make him a dynamic professional who excels in bringing ideas to fruition, whether it be through brand marketing, creative consulting, or entrepreneurship. So, if that sounds like one awesome guest, then you're right. It is, and we're lucky to have him on the program. So without further ado, let's see what Rod's got to say, shall we? Let's go. Cool. Well, thanks again, Rod, for joining me on the program. I'm excited to learn about what it is you do and how you create.
Definitely. Yeah, man. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. So, this is the first time we're talking in person, but in preparation for this call, you sent some great notes, and I've definitely found some similarity. It sounds like you appreciate a lot of different aspects of the creative tool set or whatever, from interior design to graphic design to illustration. Tell me a little bit more about the different ways that you create.
Totally, man. Yeah. So all of the ways, I guess. There's a lot of connection between everything. I think that's one of the things I learned, just kind of developing in my career and just growing up and having interests in many different areas, I like to create everything. So, whether that's photography, or graphic design, coming up with different branding identities, working with a handful of brands to, kind of concept, creative and launch brands from kind of start to finish. Do a lot of that as well as writing. So I have a brand myself called Uniform Journal that's more fashion centric. So do a ton of writing in regards to fashion and how I adopt certain things to my own uniform and all the way down to painting and illustration and whatnot. So, it's one of those things where I think we all kind of grew up with the internet and just having many interests aside from one singular thing, which I think kind of the past told us we had to have. And so, I think for me, it's always been about kind of keeping creative and learning new things and finding a way to kind of have my hands in a little bit of everything.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I describe it as like a creative ADD where it's hard to just stick with one thing. It's like so many interesting things to learn, and as a creative leader, and I'm sure you probably experienced this as well, is it helps to relate with those specialists when you've dabbled in those areas and you can appreciate what kind of work goes into it.
Totally. Yeah, man. That's definitely important for me. I think not only for the personal projects that I'm on, but when it is work for a brand or a company, it's having that ability to kind of stretch and understand different functions of the business so that you kind of come informed to whatever decisions you need to make.
Yeah, for real. So tell me a little bit more about how you developed this love for creating. Does it go way back? Is it something more recent?
Yeah, I mean, it goes way back. I think, I don't know how it is for you, but I know we were talking just in what I sent over a little bit. Is just the fact that we're all creators. I feel in a way. All of those things that we kind of grow up with and those freedoms we kind of have as a child. It is truly about creation and playing and learning and getting your hands dirty. And so I think all the way back then, I can't remember what was happening, prior to maybe like age 3 or 4. But I know kind of once I had the opportunity to kind of get my hands into the arts, I've been kind of hooked. Obviously back then you don't really understand what it is. You just kind of enjoy it. But you start to learn over time. So, whether it's tracing comics or, getting into comic books or anything like that, I feel like that's kind of where things start to develop. And then I think it's really about kind of what you have around you and how that's nurtured or kind of, how it's nurtured, but also kind of how you have the ability to continue doing that on that path. So some people have that freedom, others don't. And so I was definitely blessed with having parents that encouraged me to kind of do whatever it was I was interested in. And so, man, I designed my 8th grade graduating class t-shirt, won that contest to be able to kind of have a shirt printed for everyone in my class. And so I think that was one of those first instances where I was like, oh, that was fun. I had an idea and I made something and other people enjoyed it. And now, everyone in my class has that. And so I think I sort of took that into high school and definitely focused on a lot of arts and music in school and ultimately, got in great with my art teacher then, and our school had kind of like a mural program every year, and so I was able to kind of own that for a couple of years and come up with the artwork for that. So I think that's where I felt as though like this seems more fun. I know a lot of adults are pushing you into different career paths, junior year, senior year, and it's like I didn't get as much excitement from some of those other things as I did from creating. And so yeah, that I feel like is kind of like the true background, and where I really started to understand, like this is something that kind of drives me. So let me kind of continue in this path for as long as I can.
Yeah, I love that. I love what you said about nurture, and how, I think maybe this was more true, 30, 40 years ago or whatever. The parents are like, no, there's a certain path. You got to be a lawyer or a doctor or a real estate agent or whatever. but to hear that you got that support from your parents early on, and likewise the same for me. It goes a long ways, and then it gets even pour some more fuel on the fire in school, like you said, as you get those opportunities to kind of stand out in those ways.
Totally. Yeah, man, it's important, and I think that's something that we're definitely trying to instill and make sure is a part of our household going forward too. I think the arts lately haven't had the best support, especially when it comes from funding and programs. So I think it's important for us to kind of make sure that we can do whatever we can in our own house to continue to kind of push that message forward.
Yeah, keep it alive. I love it.
Yeah.
And so with all of these different disciplines, areas that you find joy in, while creating, is there a favorite part of the creative process for you?
There is, and there isn't at the same time. I think I enjoy most of the process. I kind of have both sides of the brain. So I enjoy creating, but I also like the kind of business side and analytical side of things. So I'm able to create and also understand how those creations kind of come to life and maybe become realistic. But yeah, man, I enjoy every part of the process. Like there's nothing better than, having an idea for something and being able to kind of execute it fully and bring it to fruition in real life. So I would say most of the process in general is what I cherish. I don't hold one thing over another, because that idea is just as important as the physical whatever it is once it's created. But there is a joy in kind of seeing how people react or how people embrace something that you have created. So there is a nice sense of joy that comes with completing the mission, whatever that may be. I know you feel anxieties or stresses or what have you. I think it's super cool to kind of work through something and kind of go through your ups and downs with whatever that may be, and finally have something that exists in the world for people to engage, kind of react to.
Yeah, no, that's great, and I agree. Excuse me. The beginning stages are awesome. You get that great idea, you see it in your mind of what it could be, and you've got others that are pulling for you, and you want to get it there. And I know for myself, I constantly struggle with, especially personal projects, seeing it all the way through, because it's like that last 10% sometimes can be the hardest, because like I can push it further, but I've got to get on to other things, or done is better than perfect. What are your thoughts on the do you struggle with that, or is that something you just no problem?
Man, as of late, it's not a problem. It's definitely a journey, and it took a lot of time to get to this point. Because I feel like most creatives are that way. Like we're our own worst critics, and so no one's gonna hold your work under a microscope more than you will. And I myself am a perfectionist and kind of need everything to be like exactly what I thought it would be or should be. But I think it's a never ending cycle. If you find yourself in that position, nothing is really ever done. And so for me, I feel like if it feels good, and you're happy with it, just like let it go, because there will be something else to come along and kind of take up that space immediately after. So I think for me, it used to be like, oh, that's not right, or this isn't right, and I definitely don't settle by any means. But I think when it comes down to, the reality of it all, I think you do truly just kind of have to let go and continue to push and get things out there. And I feel like maybe some of those things that have come up along the way that you might not have been happy with on a certain thing kind of gets worked through, and you kind of find yourself in this place where that process is a little bit better and easier for you. And maybe some of those things that you thought were going to get a certain response actually got a response that was opposite of that. And so that kind of helps, kind of move you forward when it comes to dealing with something similar in the future.
Yeah, no, those are some good thoughts. I like that. And it's, maybe encouraging to younger creatives out there to know that that's a muscle to work on, that as you have experience working with clients and shipping things out the door, that eventually you get to where you've been there, you've done that, you know when it's time to let go, and that if we're going to get paid, things have to get shipped.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And so, I mean, you could pick apart everything, at the end of the day. And so it's like, how difficult do you want to be on yourself? I think there's a ton of stress in life in general. And I think it's one of those things when it comes to work and your livelihood. I think it's just a lot easier for you to kind of find that place to be able to let go. And just let it happen. Let the universe tell you how it went.
Exactly, let it happen. I love it. So maybe going off script a little bit, we talked about your work commercially, and you've worked with some cool brands, and just curious, how do you get more work? Is it are you working for an agency currently? Are you working freelance? Is there a lot of word of mouth? Just curious if you have any thoughts on that front.
It's a lot of word of mouth. And I think it's the work itself. Kind of speaking for me. Currently freelancing and consulting. I've worked brand and agency. So last gig was brand, but I've since kind of gone on this consulting journey, just because like we were saying at the top of this, it's just like I like having my hands in lots of different things, and certain positions can become pretty linear. So it's nice to be able to kind of jump in and out of certain things, and also kind of have your fingerprints on multiple things that are happening, and also take learnings from X client that may be doing something a certain way that could be beneficial to Y client, and so that for me has been a great opportunity. And I think I'm not a big salesperson, so I just like, I think that's a part of just the putting it out there. I think if you can stay in front of people's faces and collaborate, and people are able to kind of share, what their process was working with you, and kind of have that work that has proven itself out there in the wild, I think things just start to kind of come your way. And I think that's the good problem to have, is like, you can't take something on where I'm not there just yet. But I think that's a big part of it. I'm not kind of cold calling and trying to put myself out there that way. It's more about all of the relationships and connections that I've made kind of over time, and the work that happens kind of leads into the work that comes. So I don't want to get too specific on certain brands lately that I've worked with, but a lot of the work that was recently completed for one company has really just kind of catapulted the conversations with other companies that have come due to the fact that this company is kind of blowing up, and they see some of the things that I was able to accomplish for them in kind of like a 6-month period, and start to think that, we need this ourselves. And I think that's ultimately the position you want to be in. So having these things that are a little less transactional, you have that ability to work with someone for 4 to 6 months or maybe longer, just to make sure you're really getting deep into what that need is, as opposed to kind of just like a gig based workflow. So I think that's my approach currently. But yeah, we'll see where the future takes us.
That's awesome. And I know on LinkedIn you talk about brand strategy, and it sounds like that's kind of an evolution for you. You've done all of these different parts of design and identity development and different things. Can you talk more about what brand strategy means to you, and for those that may not know what it is?
Yeah, totally. I mean, for those who may not know what it is, it's truly kind of like that North Star. It's kind of coming up with that, why and understanding of who you are and why you're doing what you're doing, and what that message is that you're trying to put out into the world. And so obviously that's everything from, tone of voice to what your content looks like, to, what your graphics look like, and all of the different, kind of franchises or different functions or things you need to speak to. And so for me, it's one of those things, and being able to strategize and really kind of think through different sorts of visions and ways to get to where a company wants to be, and just kind of that understanding of everything being connected. And so, the content itself is one thing, but the why of the content and what is being said in it, how it's being said, how it looks, and who we're targeting with it, it's one of those things to where they all kind of need to speak to one another and make sense together, and coming up with that strategy and making sure that kind of all those through lines are discussed and kind of aligned upon before kind of starting at all is super important, because I think we're familiar with how things look when people don't talk to one another, and those things don't kind of come together or make sense together. And so I think that's the lack of that brand strategy, and the lack of the ability to kind of set that foundation to the approach to whatever it is you're going to do from a creative standpoint. So
yeah, that's awesome. And so when you engage with new brands, and you're talking strategy, and you're, I'm sure they talk about this, what success looks like, do certain metrics play a big part in that? Like, hey, we've got this social following of X and we'd like to exceed this. And is that something you feel comfortable kind of committing to when you engage in something? Or?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's always, you can't get away from the numbers. Like that's kind of the two sides of the brain I was speaking about. I can see how things need to go based on kind of what the numbers are, but then sometimes you kind of have to forget about the numbers and just kind of go with the gut. And so I think I love working with clients and companies that are super transparent up front, and also understand that it's a learning process, and you have to test a ton. Not everyone's in a position to test too much, but I think as long as there's that kind of openness to try something, everything else kind of falls in place. Because I feel like if you start with numbers first, you're already behind. I think the numbers play a part for sure, and whether it's growth or getting to that social following, or getting to that next sort of round of fundraising, or just making sure that the company is in the black for their earnings. I think it's really about being able to kind of look at what the numbers are saying and react accordingly, but not let that kind of be the entire driver of what it is you're doing. So I've definitely had those clients in the past who are it's analytics first. It's we're paying you guys a ton of money, and this is what we need to see on the back end. But at the end of the day, the strategy or the content or the marketing, like, these are all just parts in a larger machine. And so you can't really say, hey, this is because of what you did. There's a lot of different factors,
Yeah.
especially coming out of the pandemic. And, some of the other companies that I work with, some of them were delivery companies. And so it's like there was a point in time where everyone was getting things delivered, but then you slowly started to come out of that. People were starting to kind of get outside a little bit more. So it didn't really have anything to do with the work that was happening, but more to do with the world outside. And so I think as long as companies and the people in charge of some of these different initiatives or projects that we're brought into, it's like, as long as you understand that this isn't the only deciding factor of what success is, like we can talk about the numbers and we can make sure that, if we publish this and this is the reaction to it, we can pivot and try something that goes in a different direction that might get you closer to the numbers that you're trying to reach if we haven't kind of already exceeded that.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. I think that's key to your point is, and something that I hadn't thought of in that way is, someone might come out of the gates hot and heavy with like, hey, if we're gonna pay you X, we've got to get this kind of ROI. Can you promise you'll do it? And to just have that be real up front and just be like, hey, there's some back and forth, there's some testing, there's some understanding your brand and your current audience and then engaging with them with that kind of state of mind or direction. Yeah, that's real helpful.
Totally.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to just agree to it. There's no other way. But I think as long as you're comfortable with making that decision, I don't put myself in any positions to where I'm promising something that I definitely know isn't going to happen. Like you always kind of go into it with I think what I will do for you will help get you to that point. And if it doesn't, obviously the relationship will end, but it's not for a lack of trying and committing and doing everything you could to kind of get to where you said you would get.
Yeah. I love that. But communication and setting those expectations up front.
Yeah.
Super key. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, man.
So you've already given us a wealth of knowledge on what we can do to be better creatives and entrepreneurs. But I'm curious, do you have any specific advice if you could talk to, 20-year-old Rod or someone just starting out, what you might encourage them to do?
Yeah, I think, at the end of the day, I would say just kind of have your own point of view, know what you're doing and why you're doing it. I think that was, 20-year-old me, for sure wasn't doing that. I was still trying to figure it out. But I think 20-year-old me didn't have as many distractions as 20-year-old me today would have. So I think having your own point of view, regardless of what it is you're doing, is definitely going to get you places. Because I think, we're in the algorithm age, and we're being fed so many things, and imposter syndrome is real, and there are lots of things that are out there that are very trend based, and you sometimes fall victim and kind of just follow what is happening. But I think if you're able to kind of have a strong base and just like your own identity and point of view and not really relying on outside factors to kind of move you in a certain direction, I think that's more important than a lot of things, because everything else is going to be out there always. But I think your true core and reason for existing or kind of operating in this space is really going to be what sets you apart from everyone else. Yeah, no, that's well said. And that goes along with something I heard on TikTok recently from one of the influencers out there, because we hear a lot about, you got to niche down, you got to, you just do this one thing, become a specialist. But for people like you and I who are interested in this wide variety of things, does that mean we have to just pick one of those? And the influencer that I heard on TikTok or whatever was like, no, your niche can be your unique point of view, and everything that you
you throw out there, if you're being true to yourself, is your niche. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that's the other part of it too, is, you know, don't stop learning. I think it is a lot easier these days with the tools that are being created to kind of have the extra help when it comes from whether it's AI or just general technology. You know, there are those ways to kind of get things done without truly having to know how to do it. But I think for me, and the same of like having your own point of view, it's that ability to kind of like search for that knowledge and learn new things and kind of be on top of what is happening, to not, you know, be this like, you know, jack of all trades, master of none, but more of, you know, jack of some trades, master of some. You know, it's like, you know, you still, you have those interests, but you're also kind of doing the work to kind of have that true understanding of what those things are to be able to execute it in the right way. And so I think that is super important also, because yeah, you can have many interests. You are your own niche, and so, you know, it's about kind of making you the strongest set of tools that you can find within these areas that, you know, you're interested in.
Yeah, well said. And I would love to extend this on for another couple hours if we could. We're busy, as am I, and
Totally.
Just a little teaser for people out there that might want more from you. So if they do want to reach out, what are some of the best ways to find you?
Best way to find me, Instagram or Twitter, at Uniform Journal, one word, is where you can find me. And same, uniformjournal.com is my site. I close it down here or there whenever I'm kind of in between things, so it'll open up soon. But yeah, man, just you could sign up for a newsletter on there, uniformjournal.com, and follow me across socials. And yeah, what you'll see there is kind of more of a fashion conversation, but that's just where I exist right now, and the work that I do outside of that kind of exists with the companies that they're for. So yeah, you could ask for my LinkedIn after the fact, after we connect. But yeah, man, those would be the top spots to hunt me down.
Excellent. Yeah, I'll make sure to print that out on the screen for everybody, and we'll drive some traffic there for sure. So, Rod, again, thanks so much for your time. It's been a real pleasure.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for having me.
There you go. Another episode of Create or Die in the books. And you know what? I dare say this was one of those good ones. This was an episode that you're going to want to bookmark, you're going to want to listen to again and again, because knowledge nugs galore. Rod really dropped some helpful hints in there to those who are looking to take their brand to the next level, or take the brands of their clients to the next level. Not to mention the experience that he's had getting through that last 10% on projects, and how he no longer struggles with that. I mean, that's good to hear, because even for me, who's been doing this for a while, you know, it's hard. Like, I've got hundreds of projects that I've started and have never been completed. So get out there, push through. It's key. It's key. So thanks, Rod. Really appreciate you coming on. Look forward to future conversations and seeing where you go, because you've already done some amazing stuff, and real pleasure. Anyways, thanks, my friends. And until next time, keep on creating. Create or die.